Welcome back to Cosmosis or Whatever. I'm Celia Marie 1243, your fairy tarot sister, psychic medium, energy worker, and spiritual mentor. This podcast is all about them things. We are exploring the universe, our connection to it, and the fact that everything is connected. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about how to know that there are spirits around. Okay, so chances are, if you're listening to this, your people have been talking to you or been trying to get in contact with you. Maybe like within the past couple of weeks, or maybe just, other times too. But I think many of us don't know how that happens, or when we think it's happening, we kind of write it off as coincidence. One thing about me, if y'all don't know, now you know, I don't believe in coincidences, right? I don't think that if there is something that we notice to the point where we're like, that seems weird, like that's not nothing. I've always felt that way, right? So my lights are flashing right now. And that is actually one of the signs that spirits could be around you. So today we'll be talking about that. The veil has been really thin. We'll be talking about what that even means. Also, how to recognize the signs that spirits are around you. How to, notice that. Really just tune into it. And then I will also be telling a little story about how I realized that my childhood dog and a spirit baby of mine have been communicating with me. So we'll get into that, but first, okay, thanks for listening. So jumping right in. So first I was talking about the veil being thin, right? So a lot of you guys might be new, or even if you're not, you might not know what the veil being thin even means. So basically what I mean when I say that is that the realms, right? There are different realms. We are here on the 3D, the third dimension, third density, as humans, right? But there are densities that exist that are higher up in frequency than us. And that is where spirits linger. That is where they dwell. So the separation between those realms is very thin, aka we're blending in with them a lot more. I think mostly because we are ascending ourselves as humans, all by plan. I feel like, there's a lot of different theories about, this being kind of like a golden age or even like a renaissance, and this mass awakening that is happening. I do know that for a fact, just from having kind of been doing this for a little while and like seeing so many different clients, seeing the way that you guys are experiencing your awakening symptoms and seeing just how it's really affecting the collective overall. Even people who maybe wouldn't consider themselves as spiritual are starting to recognize things that they didn't before. So I think that's really interesting. So yeah, the veil, super, super thin. It makes it way easier for the spirit world to get in contact with us. And I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we do that. So for those of you guys who don't know, here's my little, credentials or whatever. I'm a psychic medium. I think I said that in the intro, right? I'm a psychic medium, but what does that mean? So there are some different lines between psychic mediumship and just psychism or, being psychic. I was going to go into the story of how I found out I was a psychic medium, but maybe we'll save that for a different episode, right? But basically, psychic mediumship is the ability to bring forth spirits and be a medium, right? The in-between between the spirit world and the human living world, right? So that's what I do in my mediumship sessions. If you've had a loved one that has passed away, you come into a session, you don't tell me who they are, you let me figure that out. I will describe their energy. I will let you know what they are showing me, telling me. And so it's all about your senses, as you can hear me getting into, right? Mediumship sessions have been off the chain lately, and it's been really, really easy for me to connect that way recently, which I love, and I'm sure you guys as my clients love too. There's a lot of really cute stories, really deep stories about the spirits that come through for a lot of healing and a lot of just like reconciliation, a lot of times I have spirits that come through and apologize for things or explain things that they've done in their life. So it's really, really cool. But the thing about it is I needed people to know that your people are communicating. Okay? So some of the common signs that the spirits around you, right? And I would say ancestors, in this case, of like people who have passed away who are in your life, but I am also a psychic who does a lot of spirit guide work. I call myself the spirit guide whisperer. Don't get it twisted, okay? You heard it here first. I've never heard anybody say that. Spirit guide whisperer for sure. Bug whisperer, definitely. But on the spirit guide side, not all ancestors, right? People who've passed away are spirit guides. The way that I help people differentiate that is a spirit guide is someone who has been elevated, right? So we have several incarnations in our lifetime. So, as we live through those lessons, eventually we want to become ascended, right? Where we don't necessarily have to come back to Earth or these different lifetimes to learn lessons. We are just coming back in spirit basically to guide other people through those things. So that's the difference between a spirit guide who has ascended and then, you have your dear old Uncle Bob who passed away. He might still have some lifetimes or he might not, Our ancestors can be elevated. And I always talk about in my content how it's important to make sure if you're working with ancestors that you're working with ancestors who are elevated or who, have your best interest at heart. Okay? So yeah, your peoples are communicating with you. Are you paying attention though? That's the real thing. Are you paying attention to what these spirits are kind of giving you? And now you can, because now you'll know. So some common things, lights flickering. Like I said earlier, as soon as I started the podcast, my lights started flickering. That's actually one of the first signs that I had in like finding out that I was a medium and starting to develop my psychic mediumship. That is the first sign that I kind of had. I noticed that when I would talk about certain things or, if I was on the right track or even if I was feeling like discouraged about a reading or something like that, I wasn't sure, I would always get something that reassured me, aka the lights flashing. Okay, so some other things that could happen, something really, really common, dreams. So your spirit guides can come in or, ancestors, spirits around you, your spirit team, we'll call them spirit team. Your spirit team can come through in dreams. A lot of people think that if they have a loved one who's passed away, it doesn't matter how long, how recent they have passed, they think, I had a dream about my Mima. She passed away like 2 years ago and I had a dream about her. That chances are, especially if the dream felt very, very real, chances are that was actual visitation, not just a dream. So your people are actually visiting you in your dreams. You're not just making it up, okay? I know somebody just got chills because I can feel it. And speaking of chills, that is another way, right? So on my YouTube channel and on my TikTok, a lot of my other content, I talk a lot about the psychic abilities. I haven't done an episode on that yet here on the podcast, but I might soon. So the psychic abilities. For one, everybody has psychic abilities, just in case you didn't know, right? It's just a matter of how tapped in you are. And as somebody who does psychic work professionally, that's what I do. I tap into all of these. And as a mentor, I teach people how to tap into them. So you have clairsentience, right? So that is clear feeling or clear empathy. Those kind of go hand in hand, but that is clear feeling. So that means, you're able to feel things. That is where, these chills come from. Or if you ever walk into a room and you feel like you can feel what the mood is, right? Like maybe you go in super happy and then all of a sudden you walk into a room and you could just feel that everybody in there's energy is like really low or they're mad or sad. That is clairsentience. If you can notice that, that's clairsentience. But it also comes in as tactile things. I've had spirits pinch me, poke me, slap me, shake me, shove me over. And that sounds scary to some people, which is a whole different topic within itself, because there's really not a whole lot to be scared of in the spirit realm if you kind of have the best of intentions and what you're doing. Some people say there's nothing to fear in spirit at all, which I tend to disagree with, because that's like saying there's nothing to worry about in life, and that's not necessarily true, right? Just the same way that we protect ourselves here on the 3D plane would be, similar to the ways that we can protect ourselves when we're working with spirit or the spiritual realm. So, paying attention to those things, especially in combination with some of these others I'm going to tell you, are ways to know, right? So, other things, finding pennies or random coins, especially if they just stand out, right? Like I said, nothing is coincidence. So people might be like, oh, I see a lot of coins all over the place. I'm just talking about ones, especially that are very like random, right? Like say you open up your cabinet and then all of a sudden there's a penny there. Like what I instruct my clients to do, if they have that happen, just say thank you. Just say thank you, just kind of acknowledge it. And probably the first person that comes to your mind, it's probably from them, right? So pennies, feathers is also a really good one, especially white feathers. Different colored feathers mean different things, but especially white feathers, I kind of get that. They kind of give that sense of like guardian angel, and your ancestors, your spirit guides can be guardian angels for you. They can come out and, be protecting you, being watching over you. And so feathers are another way. Literally seeing or hearing their names. So that's when we get into, clairvoyance and clairaudience. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So some of you guys think that you are just talking to yourselves in your head, and the whole time it could be your spirit guides, or your ancestors. In a way, it kind of is you. That can kind of get confusing. If you guys need help with that, let's do a mentorship session so I can explain it a little bit better, or if you guys want some more content on it, let me know. But, because once we get into it, we realize that we are actually all the same. There's not necessarily even a difference between you and I. We're literally the same being, like reflected back to each other. But that's like a whole different, listen, there's so much to talk about. But anyways, so seeing names, and that's actually what happened to me with my spirit baby. So, trigger warning, right? But, as a teenager, I got pregnant, and I had an early pregnancy loss. That's what the doctor called it. An early pregnancy loss. And I also had another one, like, I believe a year ago. And I do know that it's the same spirit. It's the same baby that is kind of hovering around me. I've given her various names, over the course of time. But it was really interesting because actually what happened to me is I was watching a YouTube reading, and it was a pick-a-pile. I know y'all love pick-a-piles. I'm going to have some more coming on my YouTube channel soon. But I was listening to this one, and I really felt called to listen to piles 1 and 3. But I also felt like pile 2 had something for me. But I don't know. For some reason, I was kind of like resisting. And so when I got to pile 2, I was like, okay, well, let me hear it out. Let's see. And so the person was talking about how there was something tragic that happened. And let me tell you, I wasn't really resonating with it. I was just like, okay, I know there's something in here for me, but that's not really resonating. She was like, yeah, there's something tragic, maybe with like a feminine person in your life. And I'm thinking, oh, is this something to do with like the relationship with my mom? Like, what is this? So that was the thing that was sticking out, but it wasn't quite fitting. And she was just like, yeah, this is really sad. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And so I listened to the next pile, didn't have anything to do with that. And then after the reading, I heard the name, Lorraine, which is a name that I was going to name my child. I don't know. Listen, that's a whole nother topic too, like getting into like how I wanted to be a mom so bad, like when I was just a small person. I think that's neither here nor there. Anyway, not in this episode anyway. And like the social pressures, but also like the spiritual part of that, right? There's a lot to it. But That was the name that I had picked out. And I heard that name randomly as I had finished the reading, and I was like, oh, is that what that pile was talking about? That's really interesting. And like I said, my spirit baby, she hovers around, and I know it's a girl. She hovers around. Her energy is very feminine, right? I'm a psychic. I can tell the difference between the energies. But later on, when I was just randomly scrolling, and I thought, okay, as much as I always harp on you guys about things never being coincidence, I definitely was just like, okay, well, maybe that could be it. There could be more to it. And as I was thinking about it, or I stopped thinking about it, and I was just scrolling mindlessly on TikTok, as we do, yeah. And I came across this video. It had nothing to do with any of that. It was some random IG model something. But I had opened up the comments randomly and I scrolled, and you know how you just do one big scroll and then all of a sudden you're somewhere and you see some things? That's what happened to me. And guess what I saw? I saw another name that I had chosen for my precious little spirit baby when I had my pregnancy loss last year. Or it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. Ciao. I saw the name Amaria and I was like, that's so weird because that's not a common name, right? And immediately I got chills. I started to sweat a little bit, and that is a sign that I usually get when I'm also doing my mediumship sessions, right? To let me know that a spirit has entered and they're ready to talk. So that is my sweet, cute little story about my happy little spirit baby. She's been fluttering around. There's certain signs that she shows me specifically, like I will see her name, certain color combinations I'll see that remind me of her, and they'll let me know that she's around. So all of those things can also happen for you guys, right? Also, my little doggy, Mochi. I had a dog in high school. His name was Mochi. He was a white and brown dog. Really, really sweet, really, really cute. He was so happy, and he was a little Shih Tzu. He was so happy and very like boyish, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, he was a boy, but it was just interesting to me how human-like he was almost. Okay, so which makes the story even funnier. So I was doing a development circle, mediumship circle, and so that's when a whole bunch of mediums, psychics, we get together and we read for each other to develop our skills, right? And so they had a spirit coming through for me. They described him as like a little brother, and I don't have any little brothers. And so when, they were tuning into this, they started to describe like, oh, this is very like hyper energy and stuff like that. And I immediately knew. And also the medium that was reading for me said that she saw a mirror, a rear view mirror. And she was like, I don't know why I'm seeing a rear view mirror, but I immediately knew what that was, because another like tangent on this story, but very relevant. When we got that dog, I had gotten my first car, super old car. It was like third hand car. But it had a paw print in the corner of the rear view mirror. And I've honestly never really been a dog person. Like, I know that I'm talking about a dog, and I love the 2 dogs that I've had, but I've never really been a dog person. So I wouldn't be one to put a paw print in a rear view mirror. And I wanted to take it off, because I'm like, all right, this is my car, I want to, but I never got around to doing it. So, eventually that dog passed away. But I remember sitting and thinking about him in my car, and I remember sitting and thinking about him in my car, and the song, there's a couple songs that remind me of him. A-Team by Ed Sheeran, that song came on, especially because he passed away in the winter, in the snow. And that, that song talks about breathing in snowflakes and stuff like that. And then, not me forgetting the other song. By Fleetwood Mac. Took my love, took it down, climbed a mountain and then turned around. What is it called? Y'all know the song. Dang, that's gonna bother me. It was in Jack Frost. And that's why I remember it. And that's how I even knew that song. But those two songs always remind me of my dog. And so the person who was channeling, who was doing the mediumship reading for me, heard that song. And she was like, I'm getting this song by Fleetwood Mac. And I was like, yep, that is my dog. That is my dog. And the funny thing is they didn't even realize it was a dog until I told them. And that's just an example of how, spirits can be a lot more neutral than we think sometimes. Depending on, your development or just the way that the spirit even wants to come through, it might differ. It might vary. But yeah, there's so many different ways that they can come through, different sounds. If you start to smell things that remind you of those people, right? Like say you had a grandfather who was a heavy smoker and like he smoked a very specific type of like cigarette, or maybe he smoked weed and like you all of a sudden like think about him and then you smell weed. That is him letting you know he's around. Or, sometimes when you cook like their favorite foods, they'll be around, or you'll smell their favorite foods, or you'll smell them. That is them letting you know about their presence. So don't write those things off as coincidence, because they're absolutely not. Okay. They're absolutely not coincidence. Those are ways that the spirit world is trying to communicate with you, trying to let you know. And so if you have never noticed any of those things and there's a loved one that you're trying to get in contact with, chances are it's happened and you just haven't noticed it. If you guys need help connecting, if you want to develop your own abilities to learn how to connect with them yourself, because everyone can connect to their own loved one's spirit. Anyone can. So if you guys want help with that, I can coach you through that. I have a lot of information about it. It's really the same as, your psychic skills. My lights are flashing again. Or if you guys would like to connect directly to somebody or multiple people, we could do a mediumship session, which are really, really fun. It's nice to connect, again, get that healing. But I think I will leave that episode here. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. I feel like some of you guys have realized that the things that you've been experiencing are not coincidence, and there actually are spirit guides, ancestors, angels around you speaking to you. The way that the universe speaks is in synchronicity. You just have to be paying attention, right? And the more and more you ascend, the more and more you work on those things consciously, the more and more you can develop that intuition that will let you know it's not just happenstance, right? So I hope that this has been helpful. Look out for your spirit guides, set the intention that you want to speak to them, and then just be open to receiving all of these different types of signs and signals that they're around, the ways that they're communicating to you. I also have a YouTube video that talks more about different ways, and a YouTube video that is directly a message for you from your spirit guides on how to connect to them. So if those things interest you, check out my YouTube, Celia Marie 1243, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.